So this talk, Allowing Our Beloved-ness, is about letting in that we are inherently loved by the divine and the implications of that. You might have noticed by now that I almost always choose to talk about things that are not areas of mastery for me. And I always love to see what the synergy is of this date. I did a little digging about June 11th. And on June 11th in 1776, the Committee of Five was formed to draft the Declaration of Independence.
Really?
Yeah. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men, and let's upgrade that to humans, are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So in the very founding of our nation is the idea that we are beloved by our Creator, who wants life, freedom, and happiness for us as we do for ourselves. The other part is that we're all equal and are loved equally and endowed equally with all the unalienable rights. So as we allow in our belovedness, we can also allow in the belovedness of all humanity, and maybe stop telling ourselves the story that we are screwing everything up and there's no hope for us, individually and collectively. We are not damned. Original sin was a man-made concept. Divine love is self-evident. And it's also National Making Life Beautiful Day. Who knew? And there's nothing like knowing we are unconditionally loved by Spirit to make life beautiful, eh? On a retreat that I hosted in May, I came across a book in a backcountry hut high up in the mountains. And that retreat was about how we nurture ourselves through an embodied relationship to the earth, to Mother Gaia, so that we could feel that mother's love and our service to her could be guided by that active, engaged relationship. And I was looking at the books on the sharing shelf, you know, where you can leave one if you don't want to drag it back out, or you can take one if you need something to read. And this is what jumped out. Henri Nouwen, Life of the Beloved. And I came across Nouwen during my graduate work that combined theological study with social change leadership. He is included with others like Matthew Fox, our own Thomas Keating, in the modern mystical movement within Christianity, which calls people into a personal relationship with God. Mysticism is centered in first-hand experience of the divine, which made it very dangerous for the establishment. So his work on being beloved is about opening ourselves to the direct experience of feeling divine love, based on the truth that it is always available to us. It just comes with our humanness. We are endowed with it. It is the grace of God all around us all the time. He says, becoming the beloved is the great spiritual journey we have to make until the truth of it becomes enfleshed in everything we think, say, and do. Such a big but blessed journey. And we have the comfort of knowing we are endowed with this. It's just a matter of allowing it, letting it in. It's not provable, of course, but I encourage you to test it and see how it transforms or improves your life. Like choosing that everything is happening beyond exception for our highest and best. Just choosing that. In any moment of self-doubt, complaint, despair, you can inquire, how would I meet this moment if I knew unequivocally that I am beloved? How would I respond from that place? What would I make this set of circumstances mean? So Nguyen talks about self-rejection as the greatest enemy of the spiritual life because it contradicts the sacred voice that calls us the beloved. Being the beloved expresses the core truth of our existence. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Really? The most terrifying thing?
Why is that?
Well, how many things about ourselves do we hide away from others? That we continually make ourselves wrong for, that we doubt anyone could forgive us for. Having to accept those completely, which would mean being transparent about them, that feels a little terrifying to me. Consider that self-acceptance is the gateway to life force. Self-acceptance is so powerful that it has the ability to upset patriarchy. So here's how that works. Patriarchy, which is not gender specific, it's enculturated in all of us, is about dominance, exploiting weakness, pointing out where you need to be more productive. You will never arrive or be good enough. It's a power structure. When we accept ourselves, we become like kryptonite to the patriarchal power structures. They just crumble around our chosen belovedness. We don't need the job title or the material accessories. We can't be marketed to. We don't need more to feel whole. So we weaken the very basis of the growth economy. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So this book was published in 1992, and a lot has changed in the last 30 years or so. So I'm going to update a little bit of what I share from it. But in it, he talks about these 4 pillars of being the beloved. They are taken, blessed, broken, and given. And it's kind of weird that he puts them all in the passive voice. So I'm going to update a little bit about that as I talk about that, because I feel like even in our spiritual understanding over the last 30 years, we've taken on more of our soul's agency. We're not these passive beings here being acted upon. I think something that is evolving in our consciousness is that understanding of our soul agency and our soul purpose, and activating that more with our lives. When he talks about taken, he's talking about we are taken to have the opportunity to be here. We're taken by God to be here. Being chosen. We are all chosen. And we choose to take this life, to be here as agents of love. And we are all chosen. So we usually relate to being chosen as being unique and better than another. Some are excluded. But in this way of understanding it, it's that we are all chosen and all are included in that. And this is the key piece. Divine love is universal. No one is excluded. Not the school shooter, not the bigot or the cheat. This is the sacred power of unconditional love to transform. And it's not really a human capacity, and yet we still expect it of each other and allow ourselves to feel less than when we don't receive unconditional love from each other. But we can allow ourselves to receive it from Source and know that that is more than enough, and let others off the hook for not being divinely perfect for us. This is high level stuff, high level of difficulty here. The next piece is blessed. So we're blessed to have this experience of being alive. And we're endowed with all the blessings we need for our journey, our mission for choosing to be here. But what about the suffering of others? Are they blessed? We've been so enculturated to expect blessedness to be this Disney state of perfection. And we judge the soul journey of others whose experience falls short of that. What if their recipe for the fulfillment of their soul purpose is to experience suffering and an exquisite closeness to God through that? But we see only their victimhood and our own. And it doesn't mean we don't extend compassion and grieve their suffering. To truly struggle is heartbreaking, but we don't make their circumstances wrong or less than, because that robs them of their honor and their choice, their karma. Especially when things are hard, we can lose track of our belovedness, and we get caught in the not enoughness of the circumstances and forget the many ways we are blessed, just being alive and remembering that we came here to heal and to evolve. So the next piece is broken, and this is the one that was really kind of an epiphany for me. It's certainly not a new concept to any of us, but the way Gwen approaches it is really beautiful. So although when people come together, we often focus on our brokenness. Oh, this hurts and that's wrong. And my kids are doing this and, the brokenness of the world. And so how is this a part of our belovedness? Our brokenness reveals something about who we are, our uniqueness. Gwen suggests that the way back to our belovedness is through befriending our shadows, our wounds, and weaknesses, self-acceptance, that great spiritual journey. So in our brokenness is the opportunity for self-acceptance, for that great spiritual journey. If we didn't have it, we'd have no grist for the mill. Remember the Carl Jung quote, "This is terrifying work, but radically restorative." It's through our vulnerability that we connect, a la Brene Brown, to ourselves, to spirit, to each other. He also suggests that we put our brokenness under a blessing, under the blessing, meaning that it becomes possible to live our brokenness not as a confirmation of our fear that we are worthless, but as an opportunity to purify and deepen the blessing that rests upon us. So that's the opportunity of the brokenness.
Do me a favor and repeat that, please.
It becomes possible to live our brokenness not as a confirmation of our fear that we are worthless, but as an opportunity to purify and deepen the blessing that rests upon us. So the last piece is being given. We are chosen, blessed, and broken so that we can be given in service to others. So the passive voice is a little bit weird still because it still feels kind of like that Christian patriarchy, but still the beauty is there. Mm-hmm. Our greatest fulfillment lies in giving ourselves to others. We can see this in all wisdom traditions. It's our own experience. This is another place where our culture can cause us to fear giving too much. So there's the other pole of it, fearing that we'll be taken advantage of, drained. But we are actually filled up when we give our gifts because we're endowed with them so that we could give them away. And this is that infinite flow. We're given to, we give away, we're filled up. We're given to, we give away, we're filled up. It's that gorgeous piece of our humanity. One of the times I remember feeling part of this was when my kids were babies and I was giving so much to them. And I would marvel that I wasn't just this complete husk of my former self. But there was some superpower that I tapped into, and it was this piece of, this grace of God continually renewing my spirit. Noen also suggests that we can give of ourselves through death as well as through life. And this is possible through preparing ourselves to die in wholeness and acceptance, and with the truth that we are releasing into the loving embrace of our source. And I think we've all probably had some experience of that, of being so inspired by a beautiful, whole death that we're allowed to experience. Henri Nouwen says, we have to choose between clinging to life in such a way that death becomes nothing but a failure, or letting go of life in freedom so that we can be given to others as a source of hope. So those are those choices. Clinging to life in such a way that death becomes nothing but a failure, or letting go of life into freedom so that we can be given to others as a source of hope. And in this way, our death is our final gift. I had a teacher, Terry Patton, an integralist who worked with Ken Wilber quite a bit. And I was part of a practice community with him, and during that time, he passed away. And I can tell you, I am still inspired by the wholeness with which he released himself into death. It was phenomenal to witness. Still expressing his gratitude for life, no resistance. This radical acceptance was a gift to us all. It was so beautiful. And his willingness to feel it all, to realize that he didn't know how to surrender. And he would say that, I don't know how to do this. But he kept just being courageous enough to keep his heart open, even through his own grieving process. The acceptance, and he would say the acceptance of our collective mortality is an initiation into something greater. So I want to talk a little bit about what Martin Luther King Jr. has to say about this, because he knew we couldn't do any of this alone. We would need to create beloved community, which he described as God's love working through human life. He said, this is the love that may well be the salvation of our civilization. Like, okay, let's do it. And he also talked about reconciliation as part of the creation of beloved community. As early as 1956, Dr. King spoke of the beloved community as the end goal of nonviolent boycotts. As he said in a speech at a victory rally after the U.S. Supreme Court decision desegregating the seats on Montgomery buses, the end is reconciliation. The end is redemption, and the end is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opponents into friends. It is this type of understanding, goodwill, that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love that will bring about miracles in the hearts of humans. And reconciliation is a very high-level human capacity. Reconciliation requires repentance from the offender and a complex rebuilding of trust. It takes a village, like Desmond Tutu's Truth and Reconciliation Commission to restore South Africa, torn apart by apartheid. It took justice to another level, which included grace, not just being punitive. Tutu said, there is another kind of justice, a restorative justice, which is concerned not so much with punishment as with correcting imbalances, restoring broken relationships, with healing, harmony, and reconciliation. It's not a utopian goal, but a realistic, achievable goal that could be attained by a critical mass of people committed to and trained in the philosophy and methods of nonviolence. And just this morning, as I was working on these notes a bit, I was realizing I think I really want to stop trying to create any kind of punitive consequences for my kids when they screw up. I just thought doesn't seem to be really working. What if I could come up with what felt like this, whatever it might take to create some reconciliation, some redemption, some grace? So I'm excited to think about what that would look like. One expression of agape love, which is this unconditional love that we're talking about, the love at the base of beloved community, is justice, not for any one oppressed group, but for all people. So as King often said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. He felt that justice could not be parceled out to individuals or groups, but was the birthright of every human being in the beloved community. He said, I've fought too long and hard against segregated public accommodations to end up segregating my moral concerns. Justice is indivisible. It's that unalienable right. And I think being the beloved is the gateway to nonviolence. And it's why we see so much violence in our world, because so many feel and believe that they are left out of being divinely loved. You know, it's the trauma of that separation from the unconditional love that we're all supposed to experience as children, but that we know doesn't always happen, but that we can always access from source. So this is what we can give ourselves to in earnest, to seeking out those who are hurting or lonely or left out in our communities, and offer kindness, inclusion, forgiveness, do whatever it takes to restore wholeness. Forgiveness is something powerful that can activate being beloved in someone else and in ourselves, and it's not easy. We need to create support systems in our lives, like Tutu's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and maybe like this community, to be able to access it and practice it in our lives. So I want to end with an activation of radiance, because radiance is a quality of love. So I'm going to ask you to just get into a meditative posture and close your eyes, and to breathe into your heart chakra, which is the portal to divine love and oneness. Feel your rib cage expand around this space. Drop your shoulder blades. Let your chest open. And use your imagination to see your inner heart space as a quiet field of wildflowers. and you're sitting in the middle of it. You're maybe 10 years old, and you're sitting there with a beloved friend or sibling. The field is green, like everything is right now. The temperature is warm, and the air is soft. It's the end of the day, and as the sun begins to set, it gets just a touch cooler, but still warm and gentle. As the dusk settles, fireflies start to alight. Just one, then another one over there, and gradually all around. The light is radiant and green. You are in a state of awe and delight, grateful to be sharing this moment with the beloved person you're with. And from this space, you feel the interconnectedness of the entire universe and the love that surrounds you. You feel called to send this feeling to everyone, to all the life you sense around you, the plants and insects and birds and animals. Just sit with this for a moment, feeling the radiance in your heart center and all around you, and the pulsating oneness. From this place, what if you could forgive everything that is happening in the world? What might that provide or cause or inspire? What if you could ask for forgiveness from someone that you hurt? What if this could heal the world? And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gwen.